now continue with our next talk, and it's called Controlled Vocabularies in a Graphical User Interface for Manuscript Cataloging. And I see one presenter, two presenters. Alexander Jandt and Nicole Eichenberger, I see now. I thought you were maybe even two more people, but maybe you're not. We will see. At least those two are joining us, and they will talk about the German book manuscript portal. And I want to don't want to take more of your time if you are several people, so please, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah, actually, we will just be the two of us today. And yeah, I will share my slides. So yeah, thank you very much. And we will talk about controlled vocabularies in a graphical user interface for manuscript cataloging today. And now, yeah. And here's just a short agenda, what we want to talk about. So first of all, we will give some facts about the Handschriftenportal, the platform in which we are working. And then we will go into the question why we actually need controlled vocabularies in the Handschriftenportal and how we are modeling these vocabularies. And then the main part of our talk will be the implementation of these vocabularies in the graphical user interface of the cataloging module. And in the end, we will conclude with some usability aspects. So first of all, some facts about the Handschriftenportal. This is a central information resource for German book manuscripts, for book manuscripts in German collections, which currently contains about 146,000 objects in this database. And we have different kinds of data actually in the portal. On one hand, there is indexing data, that is descriptive information about the content, materiality, and history of the manuscripts. And on the other hand, the portal also serves as a central reference for digitized manuscripts from German libraries. And in contrast to the indexing data, which is directly stored inside the Handschriftenportal, the digitized images are held in the owning institutions, and they are only loaded into the portal via IIIF manifests. So there's a difference about how the data is stored, actually. The cataloging data or the indexing data is very heterogeneous. It is an aggregation of data from older printed catalogs as well as born digital manuscript descriptions, which were published only recently. So we have a huge variety of data. And the portal mainly provides research functionalities among this aggregation of data, but it also includes a workspace for manuscript studies and a cataloging module in which you can create new manuscript descriptions directly in the portal. The work on this platform is a project, and it started in 2018. It is funded by the German Research Foundation, and the portal is developed by 5 partner institutions, 4 libraries, and 1 university institute. And the work is supported by a scientific advisory board. Now, to our question, why do we need controlled vocabularies in this platform? So there are several reasons for this. One reason is that in contrast to modern printed books, manuscripts often don't provide exact information on their origin, on the text they are transmitting. So we have already ambiguous information, and we need authority data in order to be sure about what person or what place we are actually talking. The other thing is what I mentioned before, the heterogeneity of the data that we have. So for example, in an old catalog from the 19th century, maybe a certain phenomenon is called by some term that is nowadays outdated, and we would call the same phenomenon by another term today. So in order to be able to perform a research which finds both of these terms, because we need some kind of standardization. And another aspect is that the field of manuscript cataloging is a very interdisciplinary field. So we have many disciplines that are concerned by that activity, and each discipline has also its own terminologies and scholarly traditions. So in some cases, it's also difficult to find something if different traditions called it differently. So that's why, for several reasons, we need authority data and controlled vocabularies in order to perform an efficient search, and also in order to enhance the data that we have. Yeah, so in order to address these challenges, we use different kinds of authority data. And on one hand, we use for entities like persons, institutions, or places, we use the authority file of the German National Library, the GND, and we integrate this in our data. And on the other hand, we have the domain-specific vocabulary. This is part of the controlled vocabulary we are developing ourselves because we need that vocabulary tailored to the structure and to the research areas of manuscript descriptions. So here we build our own vocabulary, which is stored and maintained in a knowledge graph. And it contains several subject areas which are related to manuscript cataloging, like, for example, bookbinding or codicology or scripts. And each subject area contains several thesauri, which represent subfields of that area, like for the binding, for example, the binding type, the binding technique, the material of the end leaves, and so on. Now, some words to how we are modeling these thesauri. So we use mainly SKOS as a modeling language for the thesauri. And so each thesaurus is a concept scheme and contains several thesaurus terms, which are SKOS concepts, and they can be in a broader, narrower relation to each other. And each term is defined by some properties, like they all have a notation, they have a preferred label, they can have a lot of alternative labels, and most of them also have a definition and example images, if that is if we have example images for them. And yeah, and these thesaurus terms are on a quite basic level. So for example, here you can see this thesaurus term here is velvet as covering material for a book binding. So it's quite basic. On the other hand, we also have specialist terms, which are more complex. So actually, they are modeled in the same way as the thesaurus terms, but in addition to this, they also have relations to other thesaurus terms. And normally, they are accepted terms in the research community. So it's something that the specialist would know and would want to use also in cataloging. And the relations to the thesaurus terms can be in different ways. So, for example, the relation has key feature means that these thesaurus terms are required in order to for the specialist term. We also have relations which allow for a choice among several terms. And we have the relation has additional feature, which means that these terms or these features are not required, but they are there very often. So that they are also typical for that specialist term. And yeah, so these two kinds of terms are actually two different ways of approaching the field. So we have on one hand a more research-oriented perspective with the specialist terms, and on the other hand a more basic perspective where you just can describe what you see actually, and if you maybe you don't know the specialist term, and by relating those, on the other hand, you can also combine the two perspectives. So much maybe for the conceptualization of our domain-specific vocabularies, and my colleague will now show you how we implement this in our cataloging editor.
Thank you. So what does the editor of the cataloging module do? It enables scientists to enter structured descriptions and manuscripts. It ensures compliance with the cataloging guidelines of the German Research Foundation, which published requirements how scientific manuscript descriptions have to be structured. It reads and writes those descriptions as TI XML. It provides authority control by tagging text with authority files like the GND, our vocabularies, and Initia. And it's easy to use. The editor is what you see is what you get editor. No XML knowledge is necessary to operate it. So I will show you now a screenshot of the editor, which is embedded into the cataloging module. And a manuscript description is already opened and ready to be edited. I will show you now step by step how some text gets tagged with one of our controlled vocabularies. In this example, it will be the subject area binding. So after you select a text, you can tag it by opening a list of different authority file types to choose from. Here you see the different authority types. The top three, corporate body, person, and place, are from the integrated authority file, while binding, codicology, etc., our own controlled vocabulary, except Initia, which we handle in our authority file server, but it's a topic for another presentation. So we want to link concepts from the subject area binding. So clicking on it opens the associated dialog. This dialog has on the top side the text which will be tagged. Next slide, please. And below that, the thesauri which are in the subject area. Next slide, please. You can expand those thesauri by clicking on it. And all the concepts contained in the thesaurus will appear in a tree structure. The concepts are modeled in this structure with SKOS, which makes it easy to display and reason about for a user. The list of all concepts can be scrolled through until a user finds the concepts he wants to tag, and by clicking on the checkbox. These are the concepts, and if you select one, you see it on the right side. It will not only be marked on the left side, but also be visible on the right side in a list of concepts selected, which will be tagged as soon as the button on the right-left side, link concepts, will be pressed. I showed you now how to explore the thesauri by expanding and scrolling through them, but an experienced user might know what he wants to tag and wants to find those concepts faster. There he can use the search field and search all the concepts which contain some text. Here I searched for stamps and found all the concepts containing that text. You see that they are part of the covering and back decoration thesaurus, and by marking one of those concepts, it gets added to the list of selected concepts. Additionally, it is possible to search by notation and analogously add found concept this way to the list. What I showed you till now were normal concepts, which were, like Nicole said, quite simple and had no complicated structure, only some label, some definition, and perhaps an example. I want to show you now the specialist terms, which are quite harder for the user to navigate. There is an own thesaurus with specialist terms, and as the other thesauri, it is ordered in a tree structure. But selecting one of those concepts will show a different form on the right side. Next slide, please. You see there that next to the selected concept, you have necessary concepts, which are the key features Nicole mentioned. And below that, you have optional concepts, which can be tagged together with it. Next slide, please. So there are other concepts which other forms. You see on the left side a multi-select concept where you have to select at least one concept, but can select multiple ones. And on the right side, you see a specialist term with a single select where you have to select at least exactly one concept. And this would be a valid selection for those. Text will be highlighted, and the same dialog can be opened again to edit the linked concepts. But I want to show you now what will be saved in the description. If you open it, you see the TI XML, which will be serialized. On the top, there's the text which is tagged, and then there's a list of all the concepts which are linked. Each concept has a URI, and following that URI, you get to our authority file server. And following that URI will show you our notation, label, definition of the concept. Next slide, please. Yes. This assures that our descriptions of the Handschriftenportal are accessible to the semantic web. And that's from me. I give it back to Nicole. Thank you.
Yep, sorry, I was a bit too quick. Yeah, so of course, usability aspects play an important role in all this, and so that's why we also conducted usability tests together with the Institute of Library and Information Science of the Humboldt University in Berlin in order to evaluate the usability of our application and also to identify issues. We made tests for the cataloging module in spring this year, and the test took about 2 hours, and they were divided in 2 parts. First, a moderated think aloud test, and then an open conversation test. And we had 5 participants in these tests. So the first part of the test, as I said, the think aloud test, that's a method in which the participants perform specific tasks and verbalize their thoughts and decisions meanwhile. And the moderator observes and guides them. And also we used eye tracking for these tests in order to better understand the participants' interaction with the application. The second part of the test was the open conversation. There also the participants completed several tasks like entering data into the system and meanwhile commented their experience. And in that way, we collected the participants' feedback, and we are now working on improving the system. So there were different kinds of feedback. On one hand, of course, technical feedback, like some users experienced difficulties with working on small screens. So we implemented a full screen view in order to make that more easy. But there were also sometimes problems with information accessibility. For example, users wanted to see the text of the manuscript description next to the linking dialog window. So we adapted this so that they are able to move the window around and see what they want to see at the same time. So yeah, we got a lot of good feedback that we can use now to improve the user experience of the system. So so much for this, and we thank you for listening, and we are looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole and Alexander, for your talk. Oh, someone asked the same question that I had. Could you give some information about the technical architecture? I'm also very interested in that, like which software you use, the software library you used. I guess also, like, for example, this what you see at what you get XML editor would be interesting for me personally also. We have a similar project at the moment. So could you elaborate on that a bit?
Yes, the editor is written in TypeScript, JavaScript, and React. And it is embedded into a Java Quarkus application. That's for the front end. The back end is Java 2, but our concepts are saved in a graph database to handle the structure, and the vocabularies are written and modeled using Turtle. That's a broad overview of our architecture and our technology stack.
Okay. Interesting. I've also seen another question here. It was maybe part of your feedback round as well. Are the definitions available for the catalogers to consult within the user interface?
Yeah, so actually there are overview pages for each term, and if you click on the term, you will get to this overview page, and there you will see all the information. So the definition, the example image, if there is one, and also the structure. I mean, what broader terms it has and what relation it has to other terms.
Nice. I see someone also posted the GitHub link already for your, I think, for the editor. Nice. So maybe people can check it out, or you can also maybe share it later in the discourse forum if you have links available to, for example, open repositories that people could check out.
I don't think that our current editor on GitHub is the current version, and I think it does not contain that part of the code, but I will make sure that we will publish it soon.
Sounds wonderful. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I don't see any more questions here. Now that I have still the Homosaurus talk in my head, when it comes to your vocabulary, is it multilingual in a sense? I think I saw an English label as well.
Yeah, so at the moment we have German and English for all the terms. We are also thinking about adding other languages, but it's in the actual phase of the project. It's not possible for time reasons, but of course it would be nice to have more languages, but German and English are for all the terms.
But did you also maybe look around if there are other projects somewhere internationally that have some kind of manuscript vocabulary that you could maybe link to or like make connections to somehow?
Yeah, exactly. That's another another good question. Of course, there are already thesauri, but often they are just for one area. So, for example, there's the language of bindings, thesaurus for book bindings, which is very, very elaborated. So actually, it's too detailed for our purpose. But of course, it would be nice, and we also want to do this, but first we have to finish our homework. We would like, and in future we also hope to be able to make some linking to other thesauri in the cases that we can do it. So but as I said, in many cases there are some things, but either they are too detailed or not detailed enough, or they don't contain all the areas that we need. So that's why we came up with our own vocabulary. But of course, the idea is also to afterwards, again, link it to other initiatives.
Okay, that sounds good. It will be a great project in the future also, I am pretty sure. Sounds really good, all your plans. Unfortunately, we are running out of time now. So it was really great to have you here, and thanks again to all of the speakers also of this session. We now have a 15-minute break, and we see you again at past in your time zone. And then we are back with the session community. So please stay with us, and we see you in a bit.